Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, the title of my message is It All Will Make Sense in the End. And so, today, I just want to talk about the promise or the prophecy that God has made concerning your life. Because many of us are waiting on the promises of God to be fulfilled in our life, and many of us have been waiting a very long time. And many of us have grown weary in our waiting because it seems like it will never happen. It will never happen. And maybe God has changed his mind. But see, God has not changed his mind. God has not changed his mind because see, a lot of times our reality does not match up with what God has said in our life at all. Our reality a lot of times totally contradicts what God has said. For example, if God has told you that one day you're going to be very wealthy, you're going to be rich, yet your reality is that you are in poverty. You are very poor. You are barely making ends meet. You can barely pay your bills, You have to borrow money just to make it every month. But if God told you that you're going to be rich, then you're going to be rich. It just hasn't happened yet. Some people God might have promised them that they will have children. But yet their reality is they have experienced miscarriages, sometimes several miscarriages. And they are watching, seem like everybody else is able to have a baby, but them. But see, nothing is impossible with God because in the Bible, there are several stories where women were way past age and God opened their womb and they were able to produce a baby. So nothing is impossible. I don't care what your situation looks like. If God told you that you are going to have a child, then it's going to come to pass. Some people are dealing with sickness in their body, and God has promised them that He will heal them. Yet the illness seems to persist. The illness it just seems to be extreme to the point where it doesn't look like they might not never be healed. Their healing is not coming for them. But if God said that you're going to be healed in your body, then you can hold that as true because God does not lie. In Numbers 23 and 19, it says, God is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. If God said it, will he not do it? And if he spoke it, will he not make it good? Yes, he will. God will make it good. Because God just does not make promises that he cannot bring to pass. It's going to come to pass. So you're going to have to hold on to it. That's why we have to live by faith. Because see, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when God makes you a promise, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it, but you have to believe it. Just because he said it, you have to believe it because he said it. Because it will come to pass. Because see, a lot of times the reason why people feel like that because the things that they experience in their everyday life does not make sense concerning the promise of God. It does not make sense to our minds at all because you're asking yourself, like, what does that have to do? This doesn't have anything to do with what God said, what I am dealing with. And see, God, he has done that on purpose because see, man, a lot of times, some people are very intelligent. They know how to work out different situations in their life. They just good at solving problems. But see, when it comes to the things of God, it doesn't work like that. See, the things that God does in our life, a lot of time is a mystery. That means you cannot find out. It does not make sense, and you will not be able to find out what is going on until he reveals it. Because he is God and we are not. So it's just a waste of time trying to figure out what God is doing. And so I want to read in Matthew the 13th chapter, because in Matthew the 13th chapter, it talks about the Jewish people. It's talking about God. Okay, Jesus, because Jesus is God in the flesh. Jesus was giving them parables because, see, Jesus did that on purpose because he did not want them to recognize him. He didn't even want them to understand what really he was saying. So he kept it hidden. See, because the Jewish people, they had been waiting on a Messiah for generations. They had been waiting on the Messiah, but when Jesus was on the scene, they did not recognize him at all. And that was on purpose. He did not want them to recognize him. See, because he had to fulfill his destiny, which was for them to take his life, and they had to nail him to that cross. And they would not have done that if they knew who Jesus was. So his identity was hidden. And see, a lot of times I hear people say that God works in secret. But see, a lot of times he works right in front of us, right out in the open, and we don't even recognize it. Because I know many people can relate to what I'm saying. If you have been through certain things in your life, and then you begin to look back, just go back and look, and you will see that he was right there working in your life. It's just that at that time, you did not see that he was working. And that's what I mean. God will keep things hidden until he wants to reveal it. And so I want to read in Matthew, the 13th chapter, the 11th through the 15th verse. And it says, "Verily I say unto you, among them," you know what, that ain't the right thing. Let me go to the 13th chapter. I'm reading in the 11th chapter. Okay, the 13th chapter, the 11th through the 15th verse. And I read out of the King James Version for anyone that is new to this channel. And it says, "He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given." And he was talking about, I'll just go up to that 10th verse. It says, "And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables?" That was to the Jewish people. He answered and said unto them, Because it is given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. So like I said, what he was saying to them, it was a secret. You know, he did not plainly let them know what he was talking about, but he revealed it unto his disciples. And so the 12th verse says, "For whosoever hath to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance, but whosoever have not from him shall be taken away, even that he have. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy by Isaiah, which said, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see, and shall not perceive." So like I said, Jesus did not let himself be revealed to them, even though they seen him with their eyes and they heard him with their ears. But he kept his identity a secret. So he knows how to do that in our lives as well, until he wants to show us certain things. So, and we have to know, as we continue to walk with God, he will begin to reveal that he is indeed working in your life. So you have to be sensitive to him. And how you be sensitive to him, you have to stay in prayer, be prayerful, fasting, prayer, continue to be close to him. He will show you that he's working. You know, he will show you little glimpses. in different stages as you walk out your process, that you are indeed walking in the path that he is taking you. You know, that you haven't got off the path, because a lot of times you think, maybe I done got off with God, or maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but God will show you that you are. So continue to trust him. See, because as you continue to be prepared for the promise, see, because when God made you a promise, it was already done. The promise was already done. You just have to let God walk you through the process, because when you think about the life of Jesus, they talked about him throughout the generations, that there would be a Messiah coming, but they didn't know when he was coming. And when he came on the scene, throughout the scriptures, throughout Matthew, Luke, Mark, Luke, and John, it says, as God was, okay, as Jesus was walking out things, it talks about how the prophecy was fulfilled. You know, it would say that over and over again, that the prophecy might be fulfilled. So all the things were written about Jesus aforetime. So when he came on the scene, he just was walking the process out. The prophecy was being walked out. And see, that is what we are doing. God already has wrote the story of our life. He already knows each step that we have to take for everything to come together. So we just have to go through the process. See, because as you go through the process, you being transformed. The way you talk, you know you changing. See, like I said, you know you changing before other people notice it. I just remember me when you talk a certain way. I never talked about God before. Then all of a sudden I would start talking about things about God that I knew that it was not the way I talked before. So I really noticed it at first. But now, the more I have walked with God, the more it has become natural to me. So you will notice that things are changing in your life, the way you walk. You're not walking the same way for us. You're not going to the same places. You're not hanging out in the clubs. You're not hanging with certain people, because you don't have that desire anymore. God begins to prepare you, like I said, as you walk this thing out with him. Even the way you see yourself, you will start seeing that you are indeed changing. The way you see the world around you, everything will start to look different. See, like I say, God will show you as you walking out the process that you are being changed. You are being conformed to be more like him. Because even if God made you a promise, it's a part of it. It's got to be a part of his kingdom, whatever his kingdom purpose is. It's not just a purpose just for us to be in the world. It's a purpose it's a part of his kingdom work. Whatever he's doing in us, it's got to come together with whatever he's doing all together for us as Christians, period. And so I want to read in Jeremiah 1:5, because Jeremiah did not know that he was a prophet. He didn't know that that's what God had called him to do. So God let him know. And in the first chapter of Jeremiah, the 5th verse, it says, "Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and ordained thee a prophet unto the nation." So as he knew who Jeremiah was, he also knows our purpose as well. So all the things we go through, good and bad, is a part of our purpose. Nothing is happening unto us by mistake. It all will come together. It's all got to come together. And so in Hebrews 6:13-15, it says, after he had made Abraham a promise, because he could not swear by no greater, he swore by himself, saying, surely blessings I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thee. And after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. So you notice that in the scripture it says after he endured. So he had to endure some things. And that means we also have to endure as well. And Jesus had to endure. He had to endure for us too. In Hebrews 5 and 8, it says, though he were a son, he learned obedience by the things he suffered. And see, the suffering had a purpose. He suffered for us. And because he suffered for us, we now can have right standing with God. We can be in right relationship with God because of what Jesus did. So the things we are suffering through a lot of times is not about us. A lot of things you suffer through, you don't realize that God is going to use it. It's going to be a tool that he can use to be a witness of his faithfulness, of what he have done in your life. Because a lot of things that I talk about to people, I'm just saying it just in my personal life. When I was going through these things, I never thought that I would be, be able to witness to people about what God has done through some of the things that I went through. It's just amazing how God works things in our life for our good. So all the things that was negative that I went through that at the time, I could not see anything positive about it. It's worked for my good because now I'm able to encourage somebody else when they are dealing with the same thing. So God is amazing. He's amazing how he works in our life. And so, like I said, a lot of things you're going through, it's working for your good. You might not even see it right now, but it's working for your good because God does not let us suffer for just to say we are suffering. We are suffering for righteousness' sake. So something good is coming out of your suffering. You have to know that. And a lot of times we're suffering because so we can have compassion on other people. When you haven't been through things, a lot of times you don't have compassion for people. So especially when you are called to be a minister, because we all are called to minister in some kind of way, whether you are in the pulpit or in your personal life. If you haven't been through certain things, a lot of times you don't have compassion when people are suffering through different situations in their life. If you haven't been through anything, so it makes you a better witness when you can relate to people when they are talking about things that they are experiencing, because then you can be able to, like I said, you can be able to tell them about things that he has brought you through, and it will help them in their personal life. So the suffering will work out for our good. So like I said, in Jeremiah 8 and 28, it says, all things work for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. So all things are going to work together. And in Psalms 30 and 5, it says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. So joy is going to come out of the preparation, the things that you have been through. Like I said, God is just putting it all together. The story of our life is just coming together through all our experiences. So you have to know that the Spirit of God is upon your life. If God is in your life, then you are going to come out a winner, because we always have the victory. God will give us the victory because God is on our side. Like I said, God is amazing. So God is just shaping you into a masterpiece. A masterpiece, because each piece has to come together. And then when he is done, you will be ready for the master's use. You will be ready for the master's use. And at the end of the process, it will make sense. So I always want to end this and say that it will all make sense in the end. So you be encouraged. Amen. Be blessed.